I'm one of the partners of Taglialatella Galleries. On behalf of myself and my partner, Brian Swartz, which is the familiar face here in New York, we welcome you to this incredible exhibition. I want to first thank Brandon for being here with us and sharing an incredible body of work that we're going to experience downstairs. And also to J.D. Miller from Lynne Galleries, who honestly was such an integral part of this process of having Brandon exhibition here at Taglialatella Galleries. Before I let you guys join the conversation with JD, I want to share with you guys a little story why it's so incredible for Brian and I to have this exhibition tonight. Personally, when I was 15 years old in Costa Rica, I've always been completely devoted to art, and I remember a friend giving me a copy of Morning View. And at that point, I was completely obsessed by the world of Brandon, from the lyrics, from the paintings, from the music, from Make Yourself, Science, Fungus Among Us, and everything that came after for 23 years. I have to say that a big reason of why I decided to pursue a career in the arts is because of Brandon's ability to just be himself and inspire millions of people across the world. So for me, this is a very special moment because 15-year-old Alan would be in tears right now in this moment as I speak to you guys. Fast forward to 2001. Brian and I became partners of Taglialatella Galleries.
2021.
2021.
We're not that old.
That's it. This is why you're here. This is why we're partners. We became partners of Taglialatella Galleries, and we were in LA having a pop-up exhibition with one of our artists. And in the wee hours of the night, we were coming back from an Uber, and a song of Incubus played. And we were actually started to sing the lyrics. And at that moment, we were like, wait, what? We're both Incubus fans? So I liked it before, but at that point, it's like, I love you, man.
We can share everything.
We're going to have like a great, partnership. And so it was, it was an amazing experience because while we were in the Uber, we were joking around and we were like, let's have like a show with Brandon Boyd at the gallery in New York, yeah. And little did we know that actually we were manifesting this very moment. So for me, that's the power of manifestation. So thank you, welcome, and I'll leave you with JD and Brandon now to engage in a very beautiful conversation. Thanks, man.
Thank you. Thanks, man. Thank you, brother.
Brian, Alan, amazing to be here, isn't it? So a little background as well. So Brian, I'm a huge Incubus fan as well, like everybody here. But we did a show in LA at the LA Art Fair in 2017, and someone said, well, Brandon Boyd's here, and he's an incredible artist. Would you like to meet him? And I said, hell yeah. And so we met Brandon, saw his art, and we did his first show with Lynne Galleries in Dallas, where we're based, in 2018. And then we were going to do another one in 2020, and then something happened that year that kind of canceled everything. And so we weren't able to do it. And then we finally, this year, got back on the road. We had Brandon in Dallas in March of this year. And we did a Q&A like we're getting ready to do here, broadcast it on YouTube. And Alan saw it and said, called us up and said, hey, would you guys want to do a show here in New York? And so we talked to him, talked to Brandon and said, hell yeah, we would like to be here. And so what I'm going to do, I'm going to start this by asking a few questions of Brandon, and then we're going to open up to you guys, okay? This is your chance to ask anything and everything you wanted to know about this man. But I'm going to start my question.
Anything.
Anything, yeah.
Also, I have some questions for all of you.
What's that? It should be. Let's see. Yeah? Should it be red like that? No.
Are you asking me if I'm turned on? That's not what I meant, but that's funny. Are we good? I'm good?
Yeah.
Okay.
But not.
Bring me your mic.
Bring me my mic. This is what we do live. It's always just.
I'm a little bit turned on. In New York.
Nothing? Okay. Yeah, little technical thing. That never happens in live shows, yeah. Is it gone again? Okay.
We just did a concert in Rio de Janeiro.
Check.
And Mikey's guitar stopped working for like 5 minutes. And I always wondered what it would be like to have like a jazz band on cue, like when something goes wrong. And right when I was thinking that, when his guitar went wrong, Jose and Nicole started just doing like a jazz thing. Improvised. It was awesome, but we kind of need one right now. Are you
Yeah,
good? Okay.
I think so. Am I good now?
I think
Okay,
my
good.
microphone is distorting. Is that okay?
Yeah, we had a little, again, ghost in the machine. We had everything working yesterday perfectly. Joe, our sound man, and we came in today, and all of a sudden our mics are like kind of weird. But yours is great, the one we're going to let you guys use, but we're kind of,
Okay.
yeah, but we'll make it work.
Tell me to speak up if I'm, or speak
Yeah.
down if I'm talking too loud.
Same here, yeah. So, so Brandon, basically, Brandon, you made your name and you became famous as the lead singer for Incubus, but the whole time you've been an artist. And I guess the question is, it's got to be a thrill being on stage and doing what you do, but I want to hear what it's like now as a visual artist to start making your mark, in this world. Did a major show in Dallas. We're here in New York City, probably the art center of the world, at Taglialatella Galleries. And how cool is that to be here? I want to know, how does it feel to be making, you've done this, I know, your whole life, but how does it feel to be starting to be really fully recognized as a visual artist as well as a musical artist?
I mean, it's fun. It's fun, it's kind of scary, and I suppose those things end up being synonymous at a certain point. Like what scares you ends up being the most fun stuff. I think that's why I go towards things like music and painting, is because it's there's no real kind of like boundaries. The only boundaries are your imagination, so to speak. So it's wonderful. It's an incredible thing to make something without thinking to yourself, like, is someone going to like this? Is someone going to listen to this? Is someone going to want to look at this? That's almost never in my head when I'm writing a song or painting a picture. Those things, I sort of leave them at the door. And you could probably attest to this as a painter yourself. It's like when you're painting, there's some sort of vague notion that someone might look at it, but you try and tune that part out. And it's the same thing with writing songs. You're essentially trying to bring into the world something that you think needs to exist that doesn't already exist. And that's a wonderful feeling, especially once you start to get the hang of it, and then your ideas that were these sort of disparate, strange things drifting around in your head, like you can see them in front of you, you can listen to them. Getting back to the original part of the question, like that anyone wants to look at the art or that anyone wants to listen to the music is like this incredible surprise continually. I guess that's the best way to describe it. So it's a lot of fun.
Yeah,
Thank you guys.
Yeah, that's got to be exciting. Well, and how about speaking to the same thing? So as an artist, we get to go in the studio and we're by ourselves. When you're in a band, it's a little bit different dynamic. Can you talk a little bit about the differences?
Sure. It's a little bit different in that regard. Being in a band is kind of, some of the time it's like art by committee, but the people that I'm in a band with, I trust them implicitly and intimately. I trust their musical opinions, their aesthetic tastes, and so it's a lot of fun to go in and make music with them because it's a little bit like a good-natured or robust argument that we're having. It's like, I have this idea, it's like, ooh, cool idea, what if we did this? no, that's stupid, let's do it this way. It like, kind of goes that way until there's a song, sometimes at the end of the day, or sometimes a year later. That being said, the process of writing lyrics and melodies is a lot closer to painting, because that part does happen alone.
Makes sense.
It happens when you kind of get like the guitar riff or the rhythm stuck in your head, and then you go for a walk, or you go for a swim, or you do something mundane like wash the dishes. You'd be amazed at how many song ideas have happened as a result of washing the dishes.
Really?
Yeah. Or, growing up in Los Angeles, it's the case too. You spend a lot of time in your car, and that doesn't sound that great on its own, but I've recently begun to recognize how much music has happened in my life because of all the time in the car.
Yeah.
It's like this little soundproof studio that goes really fast, where you can like scream at the top of your lungs and no one gives a shit. Like no one's looking at you, they're all looking at their phones while they're driving.
Yeah.
And then LA, I'm just like, I look over at somebody thinking they're gonna see me and they don't. Like, they're not paying attention.
I love it.
So, yeah.
Well, going back to how you started on the artist journey, back to your childhood, did music come first? Did visual art? I know you also write. Where did you kind of start this journey?
That's actually hard to pin down because my first memories of being creative, like as me, were drawing. But then my mom was singing to my brothers and I. Her dad, my grandfather, was singing to us and playing guitar.
Was he was a musician as well?
Yeah, I mean, that's not what he did for a living, but he had his guitar in his hand all the time. My mom was always behind the piano. And then so she would be singing, and then she would encourage us to sing with her, and I have super early memories of just sitting under the piano and feeling the piano vibrations, like kind of coming from above.
Wow.
And then she would always encourage us to sing with her in the car, and like, who is that? Like identify the artists from the 70s and the 80s and stuff. So yeah, to me, they kind of arrived at the same time. It was sort of like a prepackaged thing in my environment, so I consider myself lucky.
Yeah, it sounds like you had an amazing childhood, one that really,
in that sense,
allowed
yes.
you to do that.
Yeah,
Yes.
I mean, I have nothing to complain about in my childhood. It was super normal for the most part, but it was definitely filled with art and creativity and the encouragement of those things.
Mm-hmm.
And so I hope to pay that forward, to the best of my ability.
I think you're doing a good job, my friend. So looking the show that we put together here with amazing people at Taglialatella.
Is it Tagliatella?
Taglialatella, correct? Taglia, it's a mouthful, but it's a beautiful name. Taglialatella, yeah.
Okay.
So I love the way they put it together, but one of the things that strikes me, and I think Alan and Brian both, is that you have wonderful abstract work, but you're also a gifted draftsman. You do a lot of figurative work. Mm-hmm. Where do those two come? Where do are they separate inspirations for the two different styles, or how do you get into which one you're going to do?
That's, it's an interesting idea to try and kind of parse through, but my default position is I'm trying to recreate what I see. That's like how I started drawing. I would draw what I was seeing. And so with a bunch of the work downstairs, it's paintings of my wife. And much of them were done during like the lockdown period where we were just sort of like trapped inside together. It's like, what are you doing? I'm drawing you. Sit still. And so it's really challenging to accurately draw a human being.
Absolutely.
Part of what's fun about it. And if any other artists in here, I'm sure you can attest to it, it's really hard to draw hands accurately, to draw a human face accurately. So that's constantly pulling me in. And then you're also trying to tell a story with light and with expressions and movement and things, so that's super challenging as well. But it has always called a kind of perfectionist out of me that I've been desperate to, I suppose, transcend. I don't think that art should be the pursuit of perfectionism. I think art should be telling a story and capturing a mood. Also, dancing in a way, if it's possible. So my drifting into more abstract work, and then sometimes where the figurative stuff and the abstract work collides, over the last like 5 or 6 years has been kind of like a conscious attempt to loosen up my arm.
Nice.
Get less here and more like here, like throw paint and move it with my hands and see if I can actually get the canvas to dance more. You know, I'm not trying to be an architect. I want to find expression.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
It absolutely does. And the other thing too, I mean, I noticed you do use a lot of line work. And we talked before at another time, one of your major influences was Aubrey Beardsley. And I don't know if you guys know who that is, but he was an artist in the late 1800s, and he died very young. He's only 25 years old when he died. But I found out about him through Brandon, and I went, and since then I've really studied his work. It's amazing. He's a trip. You actually, I mean, you even have him on one of your tattoos, don't you?
Yeah.
But
this whole arm is one of his pieces called the peacock skirt.
It is? Yeah. So I mean, that I know that was one of your influences, but can you tell us about some of the others, like artists that actually have been an influence in you?
Yeah. Other artists from that kind of like era in general. I was really inspired by, especially when I was younger, by the kind of the Art Nouveau movement. As well as a bunch of the Austrian school, like the Gustav Klimt and Egon Schiele and those people who were kind of like, it was very figurative, but it was also, it had elements of abstractions and but just like objectively beautiful work where you looked at it and you just like felt your heart kind of like ache in your chest, you know. Every time we go to Austria on tour, I make like a mini pilgrimage to the Belvedere Museum to see The Kiss by Gustav Klimt. The painting literally glows. And it's also kind of amazing from a different perspective to see people's reactions to old famous works. Like people congregate around them and they want to be near it. You know, have you ever been to the Louvre? Have you ever seen the Mona Lisa?
I haven't been to the Louvre yet, no.
It's worth doing just because the first thought is sort of like, oh, it's so little.
Yeah. That's what everybody says.
About? It's like it's so small, and there's never not 300 people around it. Like wanting to touch it or smear tomato soup on it. I have a theory.
Your Lady Gaga paint a smile on it. Yeah.
This is a new form of art appreciation. Like put food on it.
Yeah.
I love it. What were we talking about?
I don't know. No. Well,
inspiration.
Yeah, inspiration.
Yeah. But all the, those artists aside, I have been just as inspired by bad art.
Yeah.
I've also been hugely inspired by lots of the different schools across history, and I still am like full neophyte. Like I'm still learning. I'm still kind of figuring out artists and different time periods, and so to me, it's like a lifelong passion. Like it's something that I could be endlessly fascinated by.
Yeah.
And so I feel very fortunate to be able to have dedicated my life to it in a certain regard, but also just as like an observer as well.
So at the show here, there's a limited edition print that we did specifically for this. And are there still some available? I know you were selling quite a few. Yes.
There's a few available.
So they can still get some of them. But that's an interesting story, how that came about. So Brandon, you formed a company called the Moonlight Arts Collective. And you were using your experience as a world-class musician that is also an artist, and you learned how to start marketing your work. And then I guess you started reaching out to other artists and actors and people that were famous in one discipline, but also had an artistic bent. And can you tell us about how you're working with them, with the Moonlight Arts Collective?
Sure. Thanks for the plug, by the way.
Absolutely, yeah.
Really creative segue, thank you. The Moonlight idea started, like a lot of good and bad ideas started over the last few years during the pandemic. We were just sort of stuck at home, and I was painting a lot and writing a lot of music, and starting to kind of just pay more attention to other people who were peers of mine who were also painting. And I just started digging a little bit more and started to kind of notice that it seems as if there's no such thing as a creative person that's only creative in one discipline.
I agree.
Yeah. And there's something kind of amazing about that. The fact that when we lean into this sort of creative impulse, it can bear fruit in one way. In my case, it was like music. I leaned into music and we make a bunch of music. But then I would go home or I'd come back from the show and I would just feel compelled to keep going. This is my life, it's like I'm an artist. And I never really questioned it. And so I had this deep intuition that this was something that obviously wasn't unique to me, because I could see that there were other people in my field who were also painting and drawing. And so I decided to just start reaching out to them and see if they wanted to do print releases, and if they were interested in showing their work, and if so, would you like help? Because to me, it seems like a good deed of sorts,
Yeah.
It's an interesting business idea, but I think the bigger impulse was to show people. It's like Mark Mothersbaugh from Devo is an amazing painter, and he shows his work, but I was like, can I help you show it more? He was into it, so we did that, like Les Claypool from Primus, incredible painter. So many people, and so we've just been kind of reaching out and doing print releases and sales of original art and things like that, so it's been a lot of fun.
Yeah, cool. Well, so I kind of got the ball rolling here. Can we get our microphone? I'll grab it.
Oh, you're not plugged in.
Oh, no, here we go. So, who would like to start off with a burning question? Don't everybody jump at once. Well, could you, so that we can hear it on the broadcast?
Oh, I thought you were going to say you brought your own.
Yeah. Yeah, that way we can hear over the broadcast.
If you had to choose today moving forward, song, written word, or art on canvas, you couldn't do the other two of the three, which one would it be?
Whoa. What a mean question.
Yeah.
No, we'll take it back.
If you lost your arm, how would you?
I don't know. I don't know how to answer it. I would definitely feel like something was missing if I had to choose just one. And so the whole idea, there's been encouragement for me to choose just one over the years.
Really?
Yeah, but because it's a splitting of focus if you're looking at it like critically.
Yeah.
It's like, dude, stay in your lane, that whole idea. And I don't know. It's like I'm doing it, and it's fun to make something and then sharing it, whether it's music or paintings or photography, whatever it is. There's something about sharing it. You're not doing it to share, but there's something about sharing it that ends up becoming part of the process, which is sort of fascinating, because it's almost impossible to be objective about the music that you make or the art that you make. By sharing it, you're able to see it through other people's eyes.
Yeah.
You can hear your music, even if it's just for a moment, objectively by playing it for someone that you know and love. It's so fascinating. Like, one of the things that we do when we're finishing an album is we'll gather a couple of friends and we'll play them a few songs. And without them saying anything, you can hear what's wrong with the song just by playing it for somebody.
Oh.
So, and sometimes you can hear what's right about it too. So to answer your question, I'm not choosing.
There's like been a metamorphosis of your artwork through like your publications and then sharing the art on canvas. And there's certain things, like I'm a longtime fan, And there's certain things where I'm like looking at it and I'm like, oh, this feels like this song, or reading this poem feels like this, you know? And I'm like connecting the two, and I'm wondering like, oh, I wonder if he was feeling this way when he wrote this, because it was like that. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Who's next? Let's
That
go.
is a perfect segue to my question, actually, because I wanted to learn a little bit more about what your creative process is and how art influences your music, as well as how music influences your art.
Excuse me. I suppose one of the fascinating things about this whole thing is the creative process as a sort of larger overarching mechanism at work. And I don't really know how it works. And I think that's why it feels magical still. I've read a bunch of books on the creative process. I've talked to people, I continue to talk to people. I in fact, seek people out to have that conversation. And there are some pretty consistent through lines in people's creative process. But then there are always unique elements to the way that people approach whatever art that they're making. And so it's endlessly fascinating. So I don't know what is at work. A feeling sort of strikes you. Do you paint or draw or make music or anything?
I'm definitely very interested in music. I want to learn how to do it.
Okay.
I'm a photographer and a creative in general, but I also don't know what it is that drives me. So I was just curious, as somebody who does deliver something out in the world that is creative, if there is a secret sauce to it, but I'm glad to know there isn't.
So there I might be able to offer you something, but before I do, you take pictures. I mess with photography sometimes, and there's something very similar about you're holding your camera, you're walking down the street, or you're with a friend of yours, and the light catches their face in a particular way, or you see something, and you're like, I need to take a picture of that. It's like, why? Why do you need to take a picture of it? Because it's going to be beautiful. Like, leave me alone, you know. But as far as like the secret sauce for me, something that's been continually kind of fascinating but also helpful is to curate environments that are conducive to inviting genie in. Do you know what I mean when I say genie? Yeah. So when I am home or if I'm in my hotel room, I like do my best to bring in natural light. I do my best to create an environment that is sort of inspiring in a way, or surround yourself with people that inspire you, courageous people. And it kicks it back on continually. And then when it's not there, don't take it personally. It's just visiting somebody else, and it'll certainly be back. But in a way, like when you're making those environments, it's just for me. It's almost as if I'm curating environments that are welcoming it back in. It's like, you can stay here. Look, I like set up this whole area for you, and it's right here. And so it's like inviting it back in continually, if that makes sense.
As a kind of follow-up to that, so you mentioned the Mona Lisa, Leonardo da Vinci. He was famous for trying to stimulate all of his senses when he was working in the studio. He had incense. This was before they had, pre-recorded music. He would bring in musicians, and he would have people there. Do you surround yourself with anything like that while you're creating in your studio?
That's a great idea, to bring in musicians to play. Someone like with a lute or a
lute, yeah.
a tuba, maybe not a tuba.
That'd be good.
Didgeridoo, yeah, whatever. We talked about this before, but I live in the Santa Monica Mountains, and on my little property I have a yurt, and it's a circular, basically like a Mongolian tent, but it's a big one.
It's like a glamping yurt.
Yeah,
it's a pretty nice
It's like
yurt.
a really nice tent.
Yeah.
But I open the doors, and I let the sound of the Santa Monica Mountains in. And sometimes I'll listen to somebody talking about something on YouTube.
Do you use incense at all or anything like that?
Not
No?
really.
Just
no. I mean, if my dog is creating a scent of his own, I'll try to combat it with some chamber or something.
Yeah.
My dogs end up becoming parts of my paintings too, because I largely paint on the floor, and they are sort of like paint illiterate. They just don't. They're like, "Hey, what are you doing?" And they'll walk right through the painting. So almost all of the paintings downstairs have like dog footprints and dog hair, and I'm sure.
I love it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Over here.
Hello.
Hi.
My original question was who your muse is, but you answered that, your wife. So my follow-up question is, many artists say that their art is never complete. When do you know that yours is in fact complete?
It's a great question. I wish I could tell you who said this, but I'm going to paraphrase a quote. It says, "A poem is never finished, it is only abandoned." Have you ever heard that one before?
Yes, I have.
Yeah, it's something so similar to it when you're painting or writing a song. Sometimes when you're writing music, especially if you're in like the major label circuit, which my band has been in for some time, off and on, you're working on like a budget, there's a time frame, so it's like, that one's done. We got 12 more to go. Yeah. So, but sometimes it's fun though, because then you get to you record it, you do your best to record it, and then you walk away from it. But then when we're recreating them live, you're literally recreating them over and over and over again. And you can kind of do whatever you want with it.
Right.
So we're continually rewriting our songs over and over and over and over again. Paintings are a little bit different because once it's framed and it's on someone's wall, it's like my part in the process is finished. But what's also kind of fun about it though is when it lives in someone else's home.
It's their own remake.
Yeah.
That's how I feel about what I just purchased from you.
Yeah.
Like, I'll make my own meaning.
Exactly. And that story kind of goes on through you know. There's something so much fun about that.
So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Hi.
So as any creative knows, whether you're doing music or writing, there often comes a time where you hit a wall, you hit a block of some sort, and there's this overwhelming resistance that I myself am currently feeling as well as with my own writing. And I wanted to ask you if with your painting, have you ever experienced that, and what helped you sort of push through those moments where your critic is telling you put the brush down?
Right. I think it's inevitable that you hit a wall of some kind. And like I was saying to the young lady before, it's like I've done my best over the years to not take it personally. Which brings up, there's this interesting intersection in creativity where you inevitably intersect with your ego. And where it's like, where it's my painting or it's my song and where I show up. And I've always found that the things, well, let me say it a little bit differently. I've always found that the process feels so much more authentic and pure when I get the fuck out of the way. When it's like, it's my arm moving or it's my mouth moving, but you're letting something else move through. I don't know what that is, but you can't take too much credit for it. It's like you're part of it, but you're part of it in the way that like a tree is doing a dance in a storm. Terrible. You guys know what I'm talking about. Yeah, don't take it personally. I found that stepping away from it is a wonderful cure-all. Just walk away from it for a while, turn the canvas around, work on something else. Go for a hike, go for a walk, do something that's like sort of like completely different than what you're trying to do. Almost forget about it for a while. And then sometimes you just walk back in and you're like, oh, now I know what to do. I gotta burn it. Sometimes that works too.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, a lot of it isn't it just getting out of our own way?
Absolutely.
Like letting the ego go and let the
Yeah.
universe
Yeah.
do its thing.
Yeah.
You know, it's a gift. It truly is.
That's one of the things that's also so fascinating about the creative process as a larger thing is that you're there, you're participating, but and this is, I think, that's something that's so hard to describe and that's it's hard to study, is that we don't really know what is taking place. We know we can feel something, and we know that it's like you can practice and you can train your hand and you can train your voice, train your eye, but the impetus to do it, the impulse to do it, is super mysterious and magical, and that's what I enjoy kind of playing with. It's like, ooh, the magic is here.
Yeah.
I'll be back. You know? You sort of go do your thing for a while, so
Yeah.
it's an amazing thing.
Absolutely. Okay, who's next? These are great questions, by the way. We have time, so.
Thank you. Hi, how are you? I just want to say thank you so much for the inspiration I know that you give and share with us all. Speaking on what you were just saying about emotions, myself, I'm going through kind of a whirlwind in my life, and I seem to be creating a lot more through chaos that is happening. And you seem like a person with really high vibrations and love. And do you have a piece that you can recall that you literally created out of chaos, out of anger or frustration? Is there a piece that you could recall that you have done?
Yeah, you know, a lot of music happens out of chaos. Painting, too, for that matter. I don't know if I could point you specifically to a piece. I mean, I had a piece at the Dallas Gallery called Chaos and Gold. I think we did our talk in front of it.
Oh, yeah. I love that piece.
It's this huge, it's just like black paint, like across, and then I went in with a gold oil pen and just sat there for like 4 days and was like, ah. And it made something kind of cool, but I remember I was in a flurry of sorts. But yeah, a lot of great music happens as a result of chaos.
For me right now, I'm all about, like, I started like in a power line, like, dumb, stupid love, just because we've all been in love.
Yeah.
Then you get your heart broken, and then it's like stupid love, and then you're in love again. Yeah. And it's like, how did you get me again, you dumb, stupid love? You know? So I get, you know.
Never give up on it, though. I mean, love is essential.
Exactly.
Life is kind of inherently chaotic. There's something unavoidable about that, but there's also something amazing, beautiful, and it's the stuff that like stars are made of, you know. So good things happen as a result.
Yeah. Here we go.
Hi, Brandon.
Hi.
I'm curious, are there any pieces of art that you've done where at the exact same time you've also created a song?
Yeah, a whole bunch. I don't even know where to begin. A lot of, we were saying it before, when I paint, I like to sort of open the doors and let the sound of the outside in. And it's like coyotes and bugs and peacocks and stuff like that in my neighborhood. The occasional lawnmower, things like that. Yeah, during the pandemic, I did a bunch of these paintings downstairs, and I wrote a record at the same time. Ended up being a solo record, but yeah, a lot of times they show up right at the same time. And so when it's quiet and I'm painting, I'm like humming to myself. When I say it out loud, it sounds like I'm a crazy person. It's possible that this, and I've joked about it before, but it's possible that it's like a kind of delightful mental illness. Where I love it too. It'll keep being delightful, you know.
Well, it works, whatever you're doing. Yes, back there. Oh. Right up front.
Mine's not so much a question, it's more of a homework assignment.
Okay.
So you wrote that short story, Blessed Are the Forgetful.
Blessed Are the Forgetful, yeah.
Yes. So I love that short story.
Thank you.
I'm an English teacher, so I also...
How'd I do?
I'm teaching creative writing next semester. Lester, and I would love to use that short story to show
Really?
them for structure. Yeah, absolutely.
Wow.
So my
You
homework
are-
assignment to you
Wow, that's really sweet.
is, can we get more short stories? A complete memoir. I love all of your childhood stories.
Thank you.
Absolutely. And what kind of student were you in high school?
I was a good student. I really loved my writing classes. I loved my art classes. I was really good at math until I discovered pot.
I'm going to make sure my older son is Brandon, but I didn't name him after you, believe it or not, but it just happened
Right.
that way. But my younger one, I'll make sure he stays away because he's good at math right now. So.
Okay, yeah. I so appreciate that, though. I love writing, but there's something like with music and with painting, I've been able to kind of quiet my inner critic a little bit more. With writing, I'm still kind of like, does this suck? Or I'm just gonna like put it out there, but it's really enjoyable. So I hope to do something like that one day. Yeah.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. Homework assignment accepted.
Wow, that's high praise.
Hi.
I am curious, do you have any of your artwork hanging in your home? And if so, which? Why?
Why would you do that?
Well, why that piece?
I don't think I have any of my work hanging at the moment. I had one piece called Sarah with Red Spirals, and I kept it.
Downstairs?
No, it was done around the same time, but it took me years to let go of it.
Yeah.
To me, it was like, excuse me, it was a little too intimate. It was not because it was like sexual or anything. It was just sort of like I was like really seeing my wife in a very particular light, and I just fell in love with it. So I was like, I'm not going to sell this. And then it lived in our house for a while, and then it went really well with the series that we put up at your gallery in Dallas. So I was able to kind of like separate myself from it a little bit. But other than that, I usually don't put up my own work. I don't hang like art, old records, or I don't know. It doesn't feel right for some reason, which is sort of weird. But if you went into my studio, into my yurt, it's just like only my paintings, and it looks like a real fine mess.
That makes sense.
That does make me want to ask one more question. Do you ever listen to your own music?
That's a fair question. Rarely.
I would guess that.
Yeah, well, when we're making it and when we're writing it, and it's in that process of going through demos and things like that, I listen to it obsessively, and so I know it like the back of my hand, and I knowingly obsess over it, so it can be the best version of itself before we sort of let it go into the world. Because once it's out and recorded, like we were saying before, it's almost like it's framed. Now it's going to live through other people. And I can't really touch it after that, unless we play them live, which we do. But I don't really. Sometimes it comes on in like a restaurant, or I was in a urinal in Germany a few years ago, and her song Drive came on. And I wasn't thinking about it, and I was like, I realized it was awesome. True story.
That's got to be cool, though. I mean, especially early on when to hear your music and you're
in a
just
random German bathroom.
Yeah, wow.
Amazing. No, it really is. You can't overstate it enough. It is such a weird, unique thing to hear your song on the radio in a different country. You know,
anywhere.
I
I mean,
for that matter. It's
yeah.
Whoa, did my mom do this? You know, I had this like sneaking suspicion that like my parents bought all of our albums and they had them in their garage, which I'm not fully convinced isn't the case yet. Right, okay.
Who else?
Hi.
Hi.
How are you? Thank you for coming. I was raised off of of your voice from my beautiful mother here. She raised me on you, your poems, and now your artwork. So I'm so blessed to be here, so thank you.
Thank you.
As an observer downstairs, is there anything, you said before, art and music kind of go hand in hand. Is there anything downstairs that we can see that we can look and like listen to a song, or you listen to a song? It doesn't have to be your own, but you listen to a song that you are painting, or was it just the Santa Monica Hills?
I don't know if there's one that I could kind of like specifically point you to, where I could accompany a song to it, but that's a really cool idea.
Yeah. Or like a poem, or like now after looking back to it, like now looking at your pieces, can you see maybe a genre of music, or maybe anything of those sorts to a certain piece that you have, or maybe the print that you're selling? Can you see? I know it's your wife, so that's special. You can't really put a song on that, I'm sure.
When I observe my wife in the wild, I hear classical music.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Yeah, she's she's an actual classical music library, and that's because she grew up in ballet. And so any place we are, when a classical piece comes on, I just look at her and she knows exactly what piece it is. It's kind of remarkable, especially for a musician, because I like classical music, but I most of the time wouldn't be able to tell you what it was. So I associate her with like string quartets and, kind of amazing music from another time. So yeah, kind of. For real, actually, not kind of. So yeah, when I see that, I see the painting downstairs, the one we have the print of. I hear kind of like a joyous kind of like spring classical piece. Next time I see you, I'll give you a specific.
Please. Me and my mom have bonded so much over your music and art.
So cool.
Thank you for that. Yes.
Thank you, guys.
It's 24 years now.
I love that.
Yes.
Back in the back there.
Yeah.
Hi.
That gentleman from earlier talked about the creative process, and you hit a wall, and there's that period of insecurity, and your ego gets involved. Has one of the creative mediums inspired more of that than others? Like, have there been lower lows with one over the other?
I suppose music has been more challenging because there's over the last, Incubus has been a band for like almost 34 years. And,
Way to make me feel old, Brian.
same. And we've had, the really unique blessing, opportunity to have had so many people like hear the music over the years. And as wonderful as that is, it also has a tendency to occasionally infect the process of making music. And so we were talking about before, it's like when you're making art, in order to speak authentically, you're trying to tune out the world and sort of channel something. Mm-hmm. So inevitably it's going to have your interpretation attached to it. But that knowledge that a lot of people are going to hear this song that you're writing, it's like you have to continually, it's like someone's knocking on the door while you're trying to meditate. It's like, and so it's this incredible blessing, but it also is a thing that you have to, for a period of time, you have to learn how to kind of like tune out and lovingly tune out. So I'm not ignoring you. I love you. Oh my God, I love you. Thank you so much for your interest and your participation. It means everything. So it creates like this delicate relationship. There's a time when you want to say, okay, everybody come in, like check it out. You hate it, damn it, or everybody, celebrates. So yeah, music, so the extra voices in the room, so to speak, can make it more challenging. But that being said, that also makes it something worth pursuing. I love going towards things that are frightening, that I know are going to be really, really hard. It's like you can see how high the hill is. It's like I'm going up there. I'm going to get to the top and I'm going to do it. You know what I mean? So all of the best stuff is on the other side of all of the things that I'm afraid of. So, yeah. Thank you.
So we have time for probably 1 or 2 questions. Does anybody have a burning question?
I have a question.
Yeah. Okay.
Brandon, where did you get your jacket? So glad you asked. I stole it from a dude in Chelsea.
Good question.
Yeah, good question.
Yeah.
Thanks, Brandon.
All right, let's see. Your hand in the back, you popped up really fast, and then let's finish with the young lady in front of you. Okay, we'll do 3 questions. How's that?
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you.
Hi.
Thank you. Thank you. You talked about sort of like I thought the word delulu, like when you're in that flow and it's like it's almost an illness of, delightful illness, I think you said. You got me through literally a serious mental illness. I'm here with my best friend and you got me here. You
So
and your
glad
best
you're here.
friend.
Right on. Thank you.
So the song names came up, and I'm curious, like almost like a word association thing.
Mm-hmm.
Pardon me. Nice to know you.
Mm-hmm.
Stellar. Warning. Sick, sad little world. Our love. I'm like connecting the dots. I like to do that. Where do you sit now with where we're at right now? Because we're there. It's like sick, sad little world, and I got that our love. And then the pandemic happened right afterwards. So I'm curious because you went back to make your to Morning View.
Yeah.
Where are you feeling with your art, your creative process, the current dot's going to be? If that was a dot getting here, I'm curious about that for you.
Those through lines you're identifying were if they're real through lines, it was unintentional on my part or on our part as a band. It's sort of in the way we've been describing the creative process. It's stream of consciousness. It's like you're allowing something to move through and speak. So if there's like an intelligible through line, it's like a wonderful accident. I wish I could say like, oh yeah, I meant to do that. You know, that's not really how it works for me. But that being said, I'm really excited about where our band is right now. Like as a unit, we've been writing a ton of music, and we're going home. I'm going home from New York tomorrow, and in 2 weeks we're going back into the studio, and so we have a lot to parse through, and we're going to have a lot to share in the near term. And I really like what we've been making so far. I'm really proud of it, and so I can only hope that you enjoy it too. And maybe there will be like dots to connect, but I don't know if I have anything to do with it. I hope that answers your question.
It does in all ways, and I brought my son, who just turned 18, this for a Succubus concert with my best friend at MSG, so he was doing the whole thing. So
Thanks for being there, Matt. That was a fun show.
Okay, and then we have two more. Let's let these young ladies get their questions.
Hi.
So, hypothetical, you said you're leaving New York tomorrow. So let's pretend that you have 1 hour in the Met. Where do you go first?
Let's pretend I have 1 hour in the Met.
That's it? Correct.
I don't remember the last time I was there. I think I was probably in my 20s. What's there now? You tell me. Can you recommend something?
What do you love? Do you love modern art? You mentioned Gustav Klimt.
Yeah.
Are you drawn to Greco-Roman, Renaissance?
Kind of all of it. I'm sorry for
You
that.
only got an hour.
Yeah.
It's a big place.
Do they still have like a big sort of Egyptology
They do.
thing? The last time I was there, I found myself kind of stuck in that department. Yeah. Is it still there? Or is it permanent? Okay. Well, I'm going to go there first for at least 20 minutes.
But you're a fan of modern art. You like it.
Yes, yes. Where should I go?
Second, all the way to the back.
Okay.
Or you can get there in 20 minutes.
Okay.
Or if it's 40 minutes, we're all too go. That's no, you.
Am I going to find your painting hanging?
Good plug.
Right.
This young lady here will finish with your question.
Hey, thank you so much. I thought it was really interesting when you were talking before about the moment you know that a work of art is done, be it a song or a visual art. And that kind of made me think about, on one hand you're saying you can't necessarily revisit anything once it's been put out there to the world, like a painting's out there now, it's on someone's wall, they're going to reinterpret it. But I kept thinking about how, as was just mentioned, Incubus re-recorded Morning View, and I was wondering if that process has made you think or has had any relationship to your visual art, to your paintings, if there's anything you've done, say 20 years ago, that you now want to repaint or reinterpret, if there's just kind of any ties between that process of reinterpretation of your music to your paintings and other visual arts. Thanks.
I like the idea of kind of an inherent lawlessness to art. So it's like if you can imagine going back and repainting something, like, sure, like go for it. There's been something I've been playing with recently with doing printmaking with Moonlight Arts Collective we were talking about. And I've been doing prints in kind of like triplicate and then hand embellishing them. So in a way that's kind of like revisiting the painting and doing it again and reimagining it so it has like kernels of its original idea there, but then reinterpreted over again and again and again and again. So there's a few of those downstairs. I think that's kind of what you're alluding to, but like redoing a painting, I don't know if that's possible. The paintings, I'm not sure how other artists work, but most of the work that I do is, it's really in the moment. I don't know I don't have like an idea for a painting. I'm like grabbing something out of the air that was only going to be there for that instant. And the more I lean into the technique and these sort of abstract line things and the big works, the more in the moment it is, you know? It's like a big, broad brush stroke, and it only exists in that one moment. But that kind of makes it kind of more special too, doesn't it?
Man, you guys, great questions tonight. Yeah, I want to thank a few people. You know, it takes a tribe to put on something like this. And first of all, I want to thank Alan and Brian at Taglialatella Galleries for reaching out to us and getting the idea for this. Our director at Samuel and Galleries, Kristen Rivas, you are amazing. And Kay, I saw her a second shooting photography, and all the great team here. And again, my brother Marcus, Jeffrey Miller, for directing the show tonight. But guys, I'll tell you what, it is an honor to be able to do what we do. And for me personally, to be here in New York with you, Brandon, this is pretty cool, dude.
Yeah.
It's a law of attraction. Can we tell Brandon how much we love it? Thank you.
Thank you all.
Okay, guys, and let's go downstairs and check out the art, okay? It's amazing.